What up, everyone? Austin Smith here again with my brother Justin Young, back for episode number 24 of the Just a Minute Show. Man, we're back rocking and rolling again after a quick little week break. This is episode number 24, aka the Kobe year.
Kobe.
We'll put that out there, the Kobe episode. I said year because everybody says Kobe year when they turn 24. But anyways, man, we got a lot to talk about. JY, man, how are you feeling, brother? I haven't seen you in a week, man. What's new?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you're right. You haven't seen me. I've been in my car going all over the place in the West, making a lot of stops along the way, trying to see some teams, trying to go to some events, trying to see a little Mother Nature mixed in across the way. So got in really late last night from a really, really good week in Utah. I saw a lot of players up in the Pacific Northwest, in the mountain ranges. I'm doing good. It's event season out here in the West for Scholastic teams. And man, what a great opportunity to see some players out here in the great western part of the United States.
Man, I know you get into it, bro. I think the only thing we need to send you is a gas card. We think you need like a nice gas card.
And it was like $4 a gallon in some places out here, man. That's right.
See, whenever you want to come back home, we got you. Whenever you want to come back.
It was funny. Let me go off on the rails right out of the gate. So we're on our management call yesterday for HoopSeen. And I'm driving down from Salt Lake back down to Phoenix, and I'm making stops along the way. And I'm just staring at the mountains. The sun's coming up over the top. If you know me, I love Mother Nature, man. I love being outside. I get so distracted between our phone call and looking at the mountains. I totally missed my exit, and it took me another hour and a half to get home because of the way that I went. So yeah, so an extra gas card would be good, just because my adult ADD takes over, and I'm staring at these big old things coming out of the ground called mountains.
I love it. Well, enjoy that, man. You know, it's a lot different here in Atlanta, but the view is always awesome. And yeah, man, it's always good to get away with Mother Nature some time. That's pretty cool, bro, for sure. All right, man, let's get right to it. We got a big show in terms of content and events, West Coast wise. Let's go ahead and talk about the Great Western Classic in American Fork, Utah. I'm going to be honest with you, J-Wop, this is my first time hearing of American Fork, Utah, but there was some great basketball that was played there. Quick synopsis by you, man. First impressions, first thoughts after the event. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, so my friend Tim Davis from Utah Prospects runs this every single year. It's a really good opportunity for teams in the West to kind of jumpstart their season on the Scholastic schedule. You've got a lot of club teams or a lot of prep school teams. You got a lot of high school teams. And sometimes you have a club team mixed in as well. And so anytime that you can have the likes of AZ Compass Prep, Dream City Christian, Wasatch Academy, all the top teams, all the state championship teams out of the state of Utah. There's some teams that come down from Idaho. There's some teams from Vegas. There's some teams from here in Arizona that come up. It's a huge opportunity to kind of see, kind of check the pulse of where we're at. And I love this event. Last year, this was the event where I really saw Shaden Sharp and put him in the lens of a guy that could be a 5-star guy, right? Turns out he ended up being the number 1 guy in the class. And so it's a great opportunity for evaluators to get in there and see some players before the season really gets started, to get an idea of what to expect. And this year was no different with the field that Tim put together for the Great Western Classic. Over 200 teams, multiple venues all over the Wasatch Front. So it's become one of my favorite events to go to each and every fall.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, you mentioned some big time teams there that came for the event. And obviously when you get a bunch of teams like that, the games will be good. But let's just go through the line with a couple of them. Let's talk about AZ Compass Prep. We know they're a heavy hitter. And I'm guessing they were probably who you thought they were going to be. Dive into their performance over the weekend.
I've seen them a ton, and I'll talk about them a ton this year just because of the proximity to where I'm at. It's not that far from me from where I live. They're stacked with talent, and you're exactly right. They're exactly who I thought they were going to be. I think this is a team that's going to be in that top 3 range throughout the duration of the season when we look at the national rankings. In fact, I haven't seen Montverde, I haven't seen IMG practice yet this year. I haven't really seen them up close in person. But from what my eyes have seen me, and I compare that to the history of what I've known over the last 20 years, I think AZ Compass Prep, for me at least, and again, probably not fair to say this, but I think they could be and maybe should be the number 1 team in the country as we go in to the schedule this year, just because there's a number of things they have. They have incredible depth, they have incredible shooters, and they have guys that know how to guard all over the place. And so that combination, we saw that play itself out. What's interesting is their style of play. They played a lot of really good teams here at the Great Western Classics. They played high school state championship teams, really well coached teams that have been together for a really long time, which is a nice challenge for a team like AZ Compass Prep, because what they're going to be doing, they're going to be playing teams very similar to themselves, where they have kids coming in from all over the country. And so what they're trying to do is cultivate a culture, cultivate chemistry, where these teams that are hyper local teams, homegrown teams, they've already had that over the course of 5, 6, maybe even longer than that. And they challenged AC Compass and the fact they could really shoot and move the ball. But ultimately, you've got like 15,000 guys at Compass that are going to play Division I basketball, and they're very, very talented. It was my first time to see Dylan Andrews in the lineup with these guys, a guy that's going to UCLA, dynamic point guard. I thought he was the best guy that I saw on opening night. And everybody on that Compass team is going to be the dude at some point, right? But we're going to talk about all their guys over the course of the next little bit. But I thought Colin Smith, who's going to Vanderbilt, we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show, I thought played really, really well. I thought Makai Mason, who's going to absolutely be a steal for Rice, was really, really good. You've got so many guys on that team that are going to be the step-up guy. But what was interesting was I'm watching Compass. They're up by 20 points. There's 6 seconds left to play. And Coach Ed Gibson is just challenging his guys to keep up the defensive intensity with 6 seconds left in a game that's just, it's over. But that's the mindset of this team. And here we are, it's the 1st of October, and that's how they're competing, the way they communicate, the way they share the ball, the way they shoot the ball. And then you're anchored by Kylan Boswell, who I think is probably the top junior guard in the country, and Dylan Andrews in the backcourt. That to me is why they're going to be so special, and why I think they're going into the season my number one team in the country.
Well, JY, this isn't actually, man, your first time being around that AZ Compass Prep program. And we talked about last year, you having a lot of insight. Is there a parallel between what you saw from their program and team last year to this year? Obviously, they had a stacked team, guys like Ty Washington, who obviously is running Kentucky now. But, is there a parallel, or is there any similarity between last year's team and this year's team?
The only similarity is the intensity and the accountability that the coaching staff puts on the players. It's a whole different feel of the team. In fact, let me think. Makai Mason and Drame, the big AD, who's a rim runner, big 6'10" kid that everybody is recruiting. It's a brand new team, because now you got Mookie Cook and Lamar Washington from Portland. You got Colin Smith, you got Dylan, you got Kylan. I'm probably forgetting some guys along the way, but it's a whole different team. It's a whole different style. This is a much better shooting team than last year's team.
Okay.
And again, I think they're probably one of, if not the deepest team. And Link Your Prep is also a team that I think I need to throw in that conversation. I love what they're doing out there in Missouri. So when you look at this year's team of Compass compared to last year, I think it's a totally different style. Ty was such a rim attacking guard and was so hard to take over. Or that could take over a game, was so hard to guard. I think this team is just different because you got multiple guys that can do that. And now you got guys with size all at every position. So I think this team's a major upgrade actually to what this team was last year. And they were a top 4 team in the country last season.
Wow. When you top 4, you get a major upgrade. Maybe you get 1, 2, or 3, which you don't before again. That's good, man. And we know here that AZ Compass Prep, like you said, is a heavyweight program nationally. Yeah. There'll be one that plenty of people will have their eyes on.
And I feel bad because I'm going to talk about them so much just because I'm going to see them so much. It was kind of like I remember in the mid 2000s, everyone's like, oh man, what are you, sports information director for Norcross? I'm like, yeah, kind of. I mean, I see them all over the place when they had Gone to the Wall and we're traveling all over the country together. And then different years, it's Milton or Wheeler and, these programs we had in Atlanta. It's the same thing. It's proximity. And they're good. They play at all the places I like to go to. So that's just kind of the byproduct.
And I'll say this too. Hey, everyone tuning in, it's probably some of the younger players. He's not talking about this year's Milton. He's talking about back then. You talk about the Shannons and the Scotts. You talk about the Dejan Parkers. You talk about the Evan Nolte, all those big time guys, man, and their historic programs and Norcross as well, man. Don't age yourself too much, JY.
I'm pretty sure the gray and the beard ages me plenty.
Nah, man, you always be young in my book, brother. Well, let's keep it moving. Another program that stood out to you, Dream City Christian. Yeah. And obviously, no, they didn't have Shaden Sharp, but they're going to be a problem. Why do you think they're going to be a problem this year in terms of competition when they play against teams?
Yeah, so what's interesting is Shaden didn't come down. He had a turned ankle. The very first night of action, Johan Traore is one of the top 15 guys, top 20 guys in the country, maybe top 10 guy in the country. goes down to a really bad sprained ankle on Friday night. And so here you have their top two guys and they go down. And what does that mean? That means next man up, right? Yeah. The next man up for them was big Sean Phillips. And I think that's why they're going to be so good, is because you have opportunities like this where when your top two guys aren't on the floor, somebody else has to step up. And I think Dream City Christian is going to be a team that's a top 10 team in the country this year because of the talent they have at the top, because of the coaching they have on the bench, and because of the players, a guy like Sean Phillips, who's going to NC State. I thought he was the most impressive player that I saw at the Great Western Classic, 6'10". I don't know. I'm a terrible guesser at weight, but I'd say probably 250 pounds of, oh shit, get out of his way. Okay. Sorry, this is a kid's show, but like that's the only thing I can say when you see this man going up for the rim. Okay. Wow. And I think a lot of players had that same thought when they were trying to guard him over the weekend, because he's a bully. They call him Baby Shaq, and I totally get it. And he bent the rim every single game they played. And the coaching staff have raved about what Sean Phillips has done so far in the preseason and in practice. And he had a huge reputation as a young guy. A lot of people had him top 10. I don't quite understand why you rank young guys that young, but that's a story for a different conversation. But probably because he was so damn big that you couldn't do anything with him at that age. So they put him in the top 10. There was a little bit of a lull. He goes to Ypsi Prep up in Michigan and kind of bounces around, put on some weight. Now that he's here in Arizona playing for Dream City Christian, has a tremendous coaching staff that are doing a great job of developing him. Keep in mind, Coach Kyle Weaver there coached DeAndre Ayton and helped develop his game to make him the number one pick in the country. We're seeing a lot of similarities with the post play with Sean Phillips, so much so that I had a friend of mine who is really good in this business that has covered the Midwest for a long time, texted me, was like, are you sure about Sean Phillips? I'm like, I'm 100% sure with Sean Phillips. And every college coach, which is a conversation we need to talk about, by the way, about college coaches being at this event, which was a nice little fun asterisk. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, that's the guy. Who is that guy? Yeah. And I think NC State, they did the work. It came down to West Virginia and Ole Miss for Sean Phillips. And the Ohio native was a huge steal, I think, when you look at the big picture for NC State, just because there's not that many American-born players that have that kind of size and power down in the low post. And they did such a great job of letting him be successful around the rim. He grabbed rebounds. He ran the floor. His footwork was tremendous, so much so that I want to keep him on my short list for a guy that we consider for 5-star top 25 status in the country, that I want to keep my eyes on him. Think about it. He's going against Johan Traore every day in practice. He's going to have Shaden Sharp going at him in practice. He's got the most athletic guy in the nation trying to rip his head off every time he goes to the rim. And Sean Phillips has got to make a decision. Do I get dunked on, or do I try to muscle up and get vertical and guard this rim, right? Yeah. And so, like, I'm excited to see where his development goes. But from a first impression standpoint, very, very good. And again, I thought Sean Phillips from Dream City Christian was the number one player that I saw at the Great Western Classic over the weekend.
Sean Phillips did his thing, man. And you're right. I mean, when you're able to have apples to apples, even in practice, that makes a big difference. And obviously, with the Ayton comparison and the knowledge that he'll get and be able to add to his toolbox, you'll see.
Who's the sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Who's the best big man that you've seen at the high school level? I was thinking about this when I'm watching Sean Phillips. Like, I'm like, man, this dude, like, pretty freaking good.
With my own eyes, personally, I saw Derek Favors back in 09 when I was an 8th grader, because he graduated 09. So I was an 8th grader, and that was like during the time period where it was my first, I guess you can say, experience seeing high school players at that stature where it's like, man, he's got a chance. Yeah. Derek Favors was really good, man. And that's me being biased because I haven't, obviously, I'm not that old, but in person, that's probably the best high school big I've seen with my own eyes.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I was telling somebody asked me that question too. And I was thinking about this on the drive home, like, who are the best players I've seen at all the different positions. Derek, for sure. I'm right there with you. One of the all-time greats. He and DeMarcus Cousins would go head to head in some of the absolute most epic battles you'd have for American-born big men. Mm-hmm. And that's what actually got me thinking about Sean Phillips. Like, most of the big men now are internationally born, right? Wow. And so, like, you get a guy like Sean Phillips, he's got the same size as DeMarcus Cousins at the same age, or DeAndre Jordan, like a massive, massive kid, right? That you can't deny his size. And so it made me think about that, about like some of the best guys. But yeah, man, Derek Favors out of South Atlanta, what an absolute freak show he was in high school.
Listen, I was still in the APS school system at the time, so I had an easy access to go watch him, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the greats here in Atlanta, man. Shout out to Derek Favors. And let's keep going with that. I mean, we got AZ Campus Prep. We talked about Dream City Christian. Let's talk about now what will Wasatch Academy look like come January or February. And they've been a team that has cranked it up a lot we've seen in the past few years. Talk to us about them, JY.
It's an interesting club. So every time I see them, I always see them at this stage of the season. This is their first competitiveness. They're in Mount Pleasant, Utah, which is kind of in the mountains on the other side of the mountains. Not easy to get to, not easy for them to get to a lot of places. And so this is their first chance they have to play against somebody at a competitive level. And this year's team is relatively new. You got a lot of guys that are still trying to figure out their chemistry. I think there's maybe only 2 guys that are carryover that are part of the rotation for this Wasatch team. And so what's going to come down to is every year Wasatch has like last year, they traveled everywhere. And I really, really love what Nolan Hickman did and Pop Isaacs did for them. They took on all comers. They were part of the NIBC. Saw them out in Virginia. We saw them compete against everybody. This year's team is trying to figure out who they are. And so now the mantle goes from one Seattle point guard and Nolan Hickman and gets transferred over to Corin Johnson, who's now at Wasatch Academy, who's now down to, by the way, Washington, San Diego State, and Arizona is where he's down to. We're going to make some predictions for colleges. We need to talk about Corin Johnson too here in a bit. But I think it's going to come down to his leadership, his ability to glue all this talent together, because they have the talent. Oh, Roddy Gale Jr., excuse me. He was there last year. Ohio State commitment from upstate New York is on that team, as is Chris Bunch, who's kind of moved around but was last in California. I loved what he was at the Pangos All-American camp over the summertime. There's some other guys there as well. Kiba Kita, played at our HoopSeen West preview camp last year. Big muscular kid. I said, he's ripped. Okay. Like he's like the Rock out there. Kiba, man, looks like you got smaller from when I saw you last year. He looks down at his biceps, which are like this big. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm just messing with you. You look like an absolute monster. But so you've got some pieces there, but I'm interested to see what this team looks like between now and say January, then January to March, because I think the talent is there. But really interesting to see where they go. I love what Corin Johnson is. I think he's one of the more underrated point guards there is in the country. Keeps the ball on a string, very dynamic. And if you know anything about basketball at the prep level, guys that are from the city of Seattle, point guards particularly, those dudes know how to compete on a big stage. And I think I think that needs to be taken in more consideration for a guy like Corin Johnson, and then how much that's going to bleed over to his productivity for Wasatch Academy. I think the talent's there. They're a top 20 team in the country, and they may be better than that. It's just curious to see how that chemistry develops moving forward. Oh, they've got Cameron Hyde as well, who's a Purdue commit. That's a big – I actually didn't realize he was as big as he was. Last time I saw him was at USA Basketball. Guy's like 6'8" and shoot the leather out of the ball. So I'm interested to see how he develops with them as well.
Good deal. Well, JY, we appreciate that, man. 3 big teams and big takeaways from that great.
Yeah, 3 of the best teams in the West too. Yeah, 3 of the best teams in the West.
AZ Campus Prep, Dream City Christian and Wasatch Academy. 3 schools that you'll definitely want to add to your viewing list for high school basketball this year. Our next segment, and let's talk about this, JY, because I think it's pretty unique, brother. The next wave of hoops from Idaho, right? And you mentioned before off air, like there are some players that can go from the state of Idaho. Talk to us, man. Let us know what we've got to look out for in Idaho, possibly in these years to come.
I'll be honest. One of the reasons why I went up to Salt Lake for the Great Western Classic is because I wanted to see Team Idaho play. I saw Isaiah Harwell play with the Rose City team on the Made Hoops platform in the 8th grade at a couple stops. And I remember leaving the gym going, like they had told me about some other guys who are really, really talented or players that we'll talk about over the next 4 years for sure. But in my mind, I'm thinking Isaiah Harwell out of Pocatello, Idaho is the dude. Okay. He's the dude. And I really think that he's the guy that could be the best player to come out of state of Idaho in the last 30 years, maybe. Like maybe longer than that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he stays his whole career and plays there, but a tremendous young talent. He's built like a guy like Bradley Beal, big, broad shoulders, long arms, can score, can slash. And it was interesting too, because, they played some teams that were going to challenge them. Okay. They played some teams that were going to really make them work. I'm talking about Team Idaho. They played the 2 games I saw. They played Real Salt Lake, which has one of the best coaches in high school basketball, and David Evans. And they've got a guard named Dre Lawhorn. That's a tremendous player, class of 2023 guard that I really, really liked a lot. Wrote about him. Check him out on HoopSeen.com. They played them, and I believe they played. It was Dream City. It was either Dream City or AZ Compass. They played back-to-back games. Now I'm getting them mixed up, but they absolutely went at Isaiah Harwell and let him know, hey, freshman, this is what it looks like. And it was good for him because I really challenged him, really tested him, and we found out a lot about what he is. But the state of Idaho, I was thinking about this. I was talking to some college coaches that were there at the event, like name the last 5 Division I players out of the state of Idaho in the last 10 years. And like, I'll be honest, these are coaches that have been in the West, and we had a hard time coming up with that list of 5. I think Isaiah Harwell is going to be a player that we hear a lot about in the class of 2025 moving forward. Don't want to overhype him and set the bar too high, but certainly a prospect that is going to be on the radar here in the West and will be on the radar on the national level. You'll hear about him for a lot of these national camps moving forward. But yeah, kind of cool, man. Idaho. A lot of coaches are going to have to pick up and get up to Pocatello, Idaho, figure out how to get there to see him play.
Pocatello, Idaho.
You know where that is? Man, you ever heard of Pocatello, Idaho?
I've heard of Moscow, Idaho. That's it. Shout out to my guys at the University of Idaho, man. They recruited one of my guys down the line. But yeah, that's the only city in Idaho I know of, man.
We should have a trivia game. Name the mascot of Division I schools in the state of Idaho.
Now I know the Vandals I got. You know what I'm saying? I can do that, but Idaho State, I don't know.
Tigers.
Yeah, there you go. See, man.
Boise State.
Broncos.
Okay, there you go.
See, I'm getting there.
Because they have a blue field in football. That's the
You know what though? I'm just not realizing that Boise is in Idaho.
I'm telling you, Boise's going to be a city that's going to have some dudes.
Nah,
Boise's
man,
growing, man.
And they've had success, man. They've done some
pros,
good
bro.
Yeah,
they got pros, man.
They got pros, man.
Anyways, that might be the most Idaho talk we've ever given on HoopSeen ever. I kind of love it.
Gotta show them some love, man. More than just potatoes. All right.
Yeah.
More than just potato. All right. So let's get into some of these commitments, Jay Watt, and let's also talk about some predictions as well. Colin Smith to Vanderbilt, playing with Coach Stack, man. Talk to us about the impact of him and their program in the future.
Yeah. So I went over to their media day, their first practice of the year, and Jerry Stackhouse was there as front and center. Colin visited right after that, and he canceled his visit to Michigan soon after. So I kind of thought, okay, he's going to go to Vanderbilt. Out of Dallas, Texas, a high level academic kid, big wing, big forward, combo forward, can really shoot. I think what he's doing at Compass will allow him to play right away when he gets to Nashville for Jerry Stackhouse, because he's really finding his way that he can be effective on the floor. He's playing with really high level guards, comparable guards that he'll play with at Vanderbilt in the SEC. I think he's a huge commitment actually for Vanderbilt, because he's a guy that can play at that SEC level, that can shoot. That reminds me a lot of players that we saw have success for Jerry Stackhouse when he coached travel basketball with us back in the day. And he's a really highly skilled kid. So he may not be a big splash because this class has so many big splash commitments, but you get a kid from Dallas, Texas, who's at Arizona, to go out to Nashville, Tennessee to play for Vanderbilt. I think that's a really, really important commitment. And when we look at the SEC in total, I think he'll probably be one of the best combo forwards coming into the league, and should be a guy that plays right away for Jerry Stackhouse. So I think anytime you get a guy that can play right away, that's a huge commitment. At a high school, for sure. And
you mentioned one thing that I love too, Jay, how what he's doing in high school will help prepare him for that.
Yeah,
I think players and parents should think about that more too. Like, hey, make sure what you're doing helps you prepare for the next level. That's why we encourage you to lock in with us here at HoopSeen, man. We can get you squared away.
Development's huge, man. You have to be developed and be able to play. Like, sure, you can be talented, you can be the most athletic guy, but like Shaedon Sharp's the most athletic dude there is in amateur sports, but you're going to have a game that pairs with that in order to be on the floor. And I mean, it's funny. Like, you watch the NBA preseason? I
have been. Yes, sir.
Like, guys, like, you see that guys that are ready, like you said pre-air, like, hey man, did you see what your boy Davion Mitchell did last night? Man. That guy's prepared to play in the NBA, and he may be not starting, but he may be playing more minutes come, February than guys that are older on that team, because he's been prepared to play and he's developed his game. So yeah, I mean, that translates at every single level, high school, college, pro.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. Next up, let's talk about Nate Pickens headed to UC Riverside.
Man, I love commitments like this, right? Mm-hmm. You know I love commitments like this. Again,
the mid-major ones, you got to get it.
You have to find guys that help you win games, and that's like that's like a no. That's like, of course you do. That's a dumb thing to say. Sorry, it's still early out here in the West. But like, he's a shot maker. He's highly competitive. He played at AZ Compass last year, saw what they were doing, bringing all these guards. He transferred over to Dream City. He's an Arizona kid. Riverside got themselves a player. So we had a lot of college coaches there. So by the way, so college coaches could come to this, but they could only see 3 teams. They could see AZ Compass, Dream City, and Balboa Prep out of California because they technically have it on their schedule as a regular season game. And so college coaches could come out and watch them play, but they couldn't watch some of the high school teams. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. But every coach that watched the game, like, that kid's going to Riverside, man, that's a great pickup for Riverside. That was a common conversation I had with college coaches over the weekend. Shot maker, tenacious defender. He's played around high-level dudes over the last couple of years, and he's getting on-court time. And again, with those injuries, with Shaden being gone, Johan going down, Sean Phillips is doing work. He's got Milos Uzan, who's next to him, doing, running the show. Nate Pickens, I think, was a guy that really benefited a lot from opportunity and a stage. And I think Riverside got in there, got it done before more people come in and see him play. I thought he was really good at their practice when I was at their practice a couple of weeks ago as well. So I love that commitment for Riverside. And I think when you have those types of players, you have to take notice. And you have to acknowledge what an important evaluation that was by the coaching staff and the work that was done by the players. So shout out to Nate Pickens for his decision and his overall talent.
Yeah, a key piece for UC Riverside to get. That pickup is huge for them, man. And like you said, we'll see that one play off come March, the years to come. So Nate, congratulations to you, my friend.
We need a short list of like all of our bracket buster guys.
Listen, and then have it on standby come March, because I don't want no excuses.
I know. You know what? We need a new intern. That's a new project. Let's go. Put this list together. March Madness bracket busters.
Yeah, you got one job, man. Just don't let us down, because when we need it, we need it. Pull it out. Have it ready. Shoot, man.
Why not? Let's make a graphic. Let's package this. Let's do it.
Might as well. You never know who can help us out, man. Absolutely. You mentioned a name, though, JY, and this helps us get into our predictions. You mentioned Milos Uzan, right?
Yeah.
And the October 16th decision for him is coming up. Talk to us about where do you think he may be headed?
Yeah, so he's down to 4 schools. So Cal was there every single game. They watched him play. UNLV, Oklahoma, and Utah, who also was at every one of his games. I think it's going to come down to, my prediction is I think he's going to go to Utah. That's what I think he's going to go do. Now, he's got some great programs in there. Certainly UNLV, the hometown school, and Cal just will not go away. Oklahoma wants him really bad. Porter Moser was there. Yeah. Super important player. And I wrote in my story from the Great Western Classic, I think he's a guy that's going to win 80, 85 games if he stays 4 years in college. Wow. If he stays the same place, like, he's an absolute winner. Interesting story about him. Okay. So this gives you some value of why these schools really want him and why I think he's going to be such a huge player and why I think a program like Utah, that's where I think he's going to go. That's my prediction. So I got a story. So Kyle Weaver, from the head coach of Dream City Classic, or Christian, says to me, Uzan looks at the locker room and he sees big Sean Phillips, who just got there to the team, and he sees his lockers like on the other side of where Milos's locker is. And so he's like, why is his locker over there? So he picks up all the stuff, moves his locker to put it right next to Milos's locker, big Sean Phillips. And I'm like, why'd you do that? He's like, because he needs to be my best friend. I need to make him better. We've got to develop this chemistry. And like that type of leadership and that type of like wherewithal as a young kid, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, to know that he's got a big man that needs like some guidance or like to develop some chemistry. Like, he took that on his own. And we've already seen that already with like the development of Sean Phillips. I think that's why he's going to be a guy that wins 80 to 85 games in his career in college, because he's going to own his locker room. Guys are going to want to play for him. They love being around him. He's got a great disposition. And on top of that, the guy can really freaking play. Great pick and roll point guard, kind of an old school flavor game, really, really smart. Probably watches a lot of basketball. Steve Nash style of game comes to mind, honestly, like really unselfish, nothing super flashy, just gets the job done. Not really a dynamic shooter, but a guy that can set stuff up. And I think if wherever he goes to these 4 schools that he has on his list, I think will be one of the most significant pickups of the class of 2022. And the guy's going to have he guys has been playing everywhere. He was over at Prolific Prep last year, changed their whole dynamic of their team when he joined their team. So like you see value with a guy like him the minute he gets plugged into a lineup. And I love what he is. And I think, again, my prediction for him is going to be the Utah Utes.
Ooh, keep an eye on that one. October 16th, everyone. Mark your calendars.
That's going to be at the Border League. He's going to make his decision at the Border League.
Are you on?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Oh,
I do that all the time, but I'm like a teaser to my own teasers.
Man, I'm not going to go too much. Let's keep it going because we got a couple more. Colin Chandler. Where do you think Colin Chandler's headed?
Yeah, so I ran into Colin, didn't play. Also another guy with a bum ankle. We had a lot of guys with bum ankles over the weekend. Some other guys sat out. In fact, you can go to HoopSeen.com right now, read about all the top players in the state of Utah. There's 2 guys that didn't play also with bum ankles. 2 guys I'm excited to see also play, not named Colin Chandler. No secret here. Colin Chandler is one of my favorite guys in the class of 2022. I've raved about him ever since I saw him play at this event last year in our preview camp that we had in Utah last October. Love what he's all about. So I thought he was getting done. He took out a visit to Stanford. I've always thought it was going to be a Utah-Stanford battle. BYU's in there as well. He canceled an Arizona visit. He said, actually, you know what? I'm getting ready to go to Oregon. Oregon now, who's been in the mix for him for a while. They were actually out here at the event. He's going to go visit Oregon. He's going to go visit Utah, and he's going to visit BYU as well one more time. But yeah, it's an interesting recruitment. I've always thought Stanford was going to be the team to beat for Colin Chandler. I thought Utah was right in there. There's some family ties, obviously being close to home from Farmington, Utah, not that far away from campus. So I always thought Utah was a player. But somebody who brought up something really a good point to me. He said, Isaac Johnson, who's there at the University of Oregon, is a Utah kid. He says, keep your eye on that. That's an interesting caveat to take a look at. To have another kid from Utah go to Oregon and have a really good experience. Colin Chandler taking a visit there. Have you ever met anybody that's taken a visit to Oregon in any sport and came on like, that place kind of sucks? No, never. So every kid that goes there loves that place. It's like Willy Wonka for sports.
It is. It's
crazy. And so I think that's something, if you're looking for like an X factor in this recruitment, keep your eyes on Oregon and how that visit goes. But my prediction still, I think, is going to be Stanford, with Oregon creeping up pretty late. But right now, I think the pecking order, in my opinion, totally my opinion, Stanford, Utah, Oregon in that order, and Oregon may be climbing up that list faster than we realize.
Ooh, man, he's got a good list. Like you said, man, no, I don't think anybody's ever went to Oregon and been like, I don't know if I liked it. You liked it. You definitely liked it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to throw one in there, JY, and this could be really quick. Corin Johnson, you did mention about his prediction for him. Do you think you have one for Corin?
Yeah, so it's down to Washington, San Diego State, and Arizona. Seattle point guards, man, they go to Washington.
Yeah,
don't
they do.
Yeah, it's like Alabama always keeps the top player in state. Washington always keeps the top player in state. Yeah. Nolan Hickman, I guess. Well, he went to Gonzaga after committing to Kentucky. But I think he goes to UW. I think that's where he goes. San Diego State, man, they have a hell of a class they're putting together right now.
They do.
So I don't think it's quite like a definitive no-brainer, but I think Washington's the school to beat for Corin Johnson right now.
That lineage at Washington, man, it's the league of its own.
If you ever have a chance, like if you're a basketball junkie like you and I are, and you have like a travel visit place, go to Seattle to go watch a high school game. Go watch a Huskies game. And I'm praying to the basketball gods, get that team an NBA team again, get that seed an NBA team again, and go to an NBA game there. Seattle's an unbelievable basketball city. And it's just such a fun place, man. That's a fun place to watch a game.
Man, I miss the Supersonics, bro. Oh, you got me thinking now. That was my team.
You forget, like Kevin Durant was a Sonic.
He was, man. They were in Seattle, man. They were in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a great basketball city, man. Great basketball city.
Okay, last thing on the table for today, JY. Big weekend, upcoming weekend here in Vegas. The most important preseason event in the country. I'm going to let you handle this one, brother. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, the Border League was it got started last year. Well, I guess it's been around for a while, but like last year kind of took up a notch. I love that event. There's a lot of really good events in October out here in the West. This one in Vegas going down. I'm headed up there this week. Want to do a little forecasting for our All-In Invitational, which we got a new logo, by the way. Go check it out on Instagram. It's so hot. I love it. So I'm going to go out there to the Las Vegas Basketball Center. They're going to be playing some of the games of the Border League there. But the hot action in the top flight division. Let me just read through these teams who they got, okay?
Go ahead, bro.
We've got Coronado. So we got the top two teams in Vegas. We got Coronado and Bishop Gorman. We got Sierra Canyon with Bronny James and Amari Bailey are going to be out there as well. Prolific Prep, Dream City Christian, who we've talked a lot about today, is going to be out there. Mikey Williams and Vertical Academy, Oak Hill Academy, Corona Centennial. That's just one division. You got Southern California Prep. You got all these other schools that are going to be out there as well. I'm going to be out there for the duration of the entire event. We're going to have tons of coverage from the Border League. So make sure you follow us, me at Justin D. Young, at HoopSeen on all platforms, and of course at HoopSeen West on Twitter as we continue to grow that platform for teams out here in the West. But man, what an awesome opportunity for teams to get started. So much talent. I need like 5 of me to come cover. You want to come out to Vegas, man? You want to come help me out?
Man, listen, man. You killing it on the West Vegas, Coast, bro. You killing it on the West Coast, man. You know, I'm an East Coast guy, bro. You know,
we'll get you out here.
I definitely got to get out there eventually. That's for sure.
I know Daniel Paccioni and Jannard Hartley are always like, yo, man, you need to come out there this week. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Bring Juju with you. Take Juju with you.
We need to. So we'll have tons of coverage. So again, make sure you follow us on Twitter. You know, I find that I tweet less and less, honestly, during an event, and I like to save it all for the website and for like this for just a minute. So, but we'll have a lot of coverage that week. But also make sure you just keep logged on to hoopseen.com. Become a subscriber, become an insider for the West, for the state of Arizona, for the West Coast, or any of the states that we cover on a regular basis. Become a subscriber and insider, where you get exclusive content and rankings and photos and player profile access. So a lot of stuff on there where it's a monthly subscription, like anything you can find on the internet nowadays.
Yes, sir, indeed, man. Y'all heard the man. Follow us on HoopSeen, on HoopSeen IG, HoopSeen Twitter, at hoopseen.com. You don't want to miss out anything. As a reminder, we've got a bunch of stuff coming up. Like JY just said, the Border League, our elite preview is coming up very soon, man. That
thing is loaded.
Got a lot of stuff cool. It's loaded, man. I'm telling y'all, it's loaded here. Yeah. It's loaded here. So make sure you're following us on all our platforms so you don't miss a beat. And yeah, JY, thanks for episode 24, brother. This was good, man. Kobe. Shoot a jump shot in the air one time. We got a paper ball. Shoot it in the trash can. Maybe you made it. If you didn't, still yell Kobe for the sound effect. You'll get it. All right, everyone. I'm Austin Smith. My guy next to me is Justin Young. He is the editor-in-chief here at HoopSeen.com. As a friendly reminder, man, make sure y'all stay tuned on everything social media. Share this episode with a friend. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all next week for episode number 25. Just a minute.